1 minute until showtime.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Friday edition of the Computer America Show. Author Michael Miller is here with us for both hours. It's going to be a fun show. We're going to be talking about net neutrality, Windows 10, updates, you name it. We're going to have fun, maybe even some movies. It's going to be a fun show. And, of course, our show reminder winner of the week, and it's the last day to enter in the Logitech contest. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We'll be starting in about 30 seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And it's Friday! Yes, another week of broadcasting excellence in the can, as they say. And it is Friday, and it's and being a Friday show, we're going to kind of be all over the road. That's what we do, and just kind of have a lot of fun. Because it's Friday, that means we're going to have a show reminder winner of the week called out. Yes, and it is also the last day for the Logitech contest. Yeah, I know, but don't worry, because we're going to start it again on Monday. Okay, enough of that.
I think we've been doing it for close to, 3, 4, 5 years now? I don't think anyone's surprised anymore when you say we're going to do it again.
Well, it surprises me every time, I just say, we'll do it again. Okay, that's great. Never expect something. Just, just because it's been happening for so many years doesn't mean that it can't change. So, but unless you're under contract, and even then, things change. But anyhow, as I said, we have a great show planned for you tonight. And as for the contest, you want to make sure that you're entered in. Just go to ComputerAmerica.com, click on under the Interact pull-down menu. You'll see our contest page. Get your entry in now for the Logitech contest because, as I said, midnight tonight, it shuts down. And over the weekend, we'll draw the 3 winning names. On Monday, it'll be the 2nd of March. We'll have the 3 big winners announced, and then we'll start the contest up again. But that means you have to wait another 6 weeks to qualify. So why wait? Do it now. Get your entry in on our contest page at ComputerAmerica.com. Interesting show last night too. The Spritz. I really enjoyed that. I've been back there a couple more times. They're kind of reading and stuff. It's like having the text injected into your mind. You at the very end, that was unusual for you, Ben. You actually had a. Usually, when you say something or make something, your mind up about something, you pretty much stick to it. But
no, hey, that's not fair. No, I think every person who they should gather as much information as possible, and from that information, they should draw their conclusions. And when you are presented with more information, I reserve the right to change my opinion. Going into it, I thought, hey, this technology has been around since the 1970s. He even admitted that. It's been very, very popular in the past, kind of buzzwordy, and in just the last couple of years with the rise of apps, it's become more popular yet again. But they seem to really be trying to use the technology not to just say, hey, we can promise you the moon. Instead, they're actually going out and they're trying it in different applications and seeing what sticks, and I can respect that.
Okay. Well, good. And again, you can certainly, we invite you to go to that website and give it a try. I think it's very cool. A unique form of speed reading that where you no effort. You're just sitting there and having this stuff literally like beamed into your brain. It's like having the information what you're reading beamed into your brain. It's a very unusual experience, and I really suggest that you recommend that you give it a try at Spritz.com. If you, it's actually not Spritz.com, it's SpritzInc.com. Just go to ComputerAmerica.com. Look at our show notes from yesterday. We have the link up there, and give it a try. Okay, so we talked about contests. If you have a comment or question or suggestion about anything that we're talking about tonight, please give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. We're very friendly here at Computer America. 347-884-8881. That'll get you on and get you through. 347-884-8881. Live, L-I-V-E, at ComputerAmerica.com is our email address. If you're radio shy and you don't want to call us, you certainly can leave an email message for us there, and we'll try to get your question on the air that way. Now, the other interesting thing is that not only can you listen to the Computer America show, you can watch the Computer America show. Okay? All you have to do is dream. Dream, dream, dream. No. All you have to do.
All right, Greg is off his meds tonight. This is going to be a good show.
All you have to do is go to the homepage at ComputerAmerica.com. It says interact with the show there. Click on the chat and live video page. It'll take you to a split screen. On the left-hand side there, you'll see our entry form to take you into the chat room. It's real simple. All you have to do is put a username. That's the name you'll be known by when you go in there. Click the connect button, and your browser will move you right into the Computer America chat room. It's just that easy, just that quick, just that simple. And the other thing you will notice when you go there is that the live Computer America video stream starts up automatically. Okay? And you can actually not only listen to the Computer America show, you can watch the Computer America show. You get to see it all. You get to hear it all. So, because even though we're a radio talk show, you can also see us. You can see Ben, you can see myself, you can see Mike tonight. And we invite you to take advantage of that. If you're listening to the show as an archive, and then of course you can still watch the show and listen to the show. We archive all of our programs, and you can see where you get them at ComputerAmerica.com under the Archives pull-down menu. It's right there. It says Archives. We have links to Apple's iTunes. We'll take you right there. They have the web page for that, or it'll launch the application whenever you want. We have the Blog Talk Radio feed. We have the links there to the different RSS feeds. So everything is there for you to listen to the program, time shifted, if you don't want to listen to us live. But we love to hear from you. We like to interact with you, our listeners, and we certainly like to interact with you. So give us a call or let us know that you're out there. The chat room is filling up. Our guest tonight, Mike, is in there as well. So that's pretty much it. So anything else you want to mention before we get started, Ben?
Nope. The show's actually pretty slow, so let's get started.
Okay, Michael Miller is the author of well over 150 books and on technology, such as The Idiot's Guide to Google+, My Pinterest, Facebook for Grown-ups, as well as many other subjects too, like The Idiot's Guide to Conducting Music and B2B Digital Marketing. Mike is one of our Computer America correspondents who appears here every month. Mike, welcome to Computer America. How are you?
Hi, gentlemen. I'm doing fine. How are things wherever the heck you guys are tonight?
Yeah, we're in Florida, actually.
Yeah. Oh, then you're above zero then, down there.
Yeah, well, no, it dipped down to 80.
Well, I'm looking at the little widget on my desktop right now, and it said it is -2 in Burnsville, Minnesota, where I'm at. So.
Oh, well, no, you don't like those numbers.
And you know what we call this up here in Minnesota?
Cold.
Friday. Is what we call it.
Right. By the way, speaking of Fridays, just FYI for everybody, this is Mike Miller's last Friday with us because of scheduling. Because normally we have Mike on the last Friday of the month, but beginning next month, he is moving to the last Monday of the month. So just check your calendars. If you're getting our show notes email newsletter, you'll see that reflected in there. But Mike, you are moving to the first Monday of every month, beginning in March.
The last Monday.
Last Monday.
I'm sorry, the last Monday
Or
in the beginning of March.
Or the week before the first Monday of the month.
Or the Thursday. No. He's it's the last Monday of the month, and Mike will be joining us for that. Now, it's my understanding that we had someone already booked for that show, so I believe in March Mike is only going to be on with for the first hour, or maybe the second hour, and then but that will have both hours set up for you. Okay.
That's fine. We'll just talk twice as fast.
Exactly. Anyhow, so I always ask Mike to pick a topic or subject matter that he'd like to talk about, and there are a number of things that we're going to talk about, including updates to Windows 10, but also there was some big news yesterday. It was yesterday that it happened, or was it the day before? No, it was yesterday. Yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Is no one going to bring it up? I mean, it happened today. It was big news. Everyone's been tweeting about it, social media, whatnot. No one's going to mention it?
Oh, yes, of course. Leonard Nimoy passed away. Sorry.
Just a week ago, he was admitted to the hospital with chest pain. So
yeah. He certainly an icon to the world of science fiction, and I am sorry to see him go. I mean, he had many interesting roles throughout he was
besides Star Trek.
Yeah, besides Star Trek, he was on I want
to say Fringe.
Fringe, yeah. He played William Bell in Fringe, but he certainly was. He certainly had. An impression on me, and I think on so many people out there. So, yes. So there you go. Our tribute to Leonard Nimoy from Star Trek. Passed away today.
Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds.
So you have the original Star Trek stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
Boldly go where no man has gone before.
Well, you watched? You didn't watch it originally. I bet you Mike Miller though watched. Did you watch Star Trek when it first came out?
Yeah, I was maybe 10 years old or so. It was on a Friday night. I actually didn't watch it much because it was on late on a Friday night, and I was 10 years old. I probably saw it more when it hit syndication than I did. I mean, I saw some of it in first run, but probably more when it hit syndication.
Well, that's the thing about it. So many people watched it after it came out. They didn't watch it live on TV. I watched it on TV. I was about a youngster myself, but the point is, I remember everybody kind of crowding around and watching it and looking forward to the next episode. I mean, it was everybody really looked forward to each episode of the program.
But let's remember, not a lot of people watched it because they canceled it. I mean, it wasn't a hit back when it first ran. It gained momentum as the years went on.
Yeah, and people tried to bring it back, but the network was intractable. They would not bring it back on. Once it got canceled, and that was it. And you say it was not successful, but the people who watched it, though, it was very successful. Everybody loved it, but evidently the numbers, the Nielsen's, weren't high enough for it. So
no, I mean it was number 2, number 3 in its time slot. But it's all relative. I mean, any show today would be glad to have those numbers. I mean, the most watched show today has a minuscule audience compared to the least watched show of 30 or 40 years ago.
Well, because that was there were only like 3 networks. There was the ABC. Yes.
Yeah,
ABC.
That's exactly right. Yes.
And now, of course, there are a bazillion networks out there, and the playing field has certainly changed in all these years. But yeah, well, I'm glad to see that at least William Shatner's still around, alive and kicking. He's doing well.
Still doing ads.
He's doing his ads.
He has a show on the DIY network, I believe it is. Something about where he's renovating his house and.
Yes, I watched it. I watched several episodes.
Really?
He's enormous, horse's ass. Actually, it's an incredibly annoying show. It's like, God, I wouldn't want him as my customer. If I were doing that sort of thing. I mean, he got an well, I mean, we all know this. He has an ego the size of the Federation, and apparently he does in real life when he's dealing with guys who are putting up drywall also. So.
Yeah, evidently. Well, yeah, my wife and I watch it. It's on the DIY network. We've watched a number of episodes. I found it pretty entertaining. What was it? His wife one time said, she was having a mind meld with one of the construction people. He said, "Don't say mind meld." So, evidently, his wife was a fan of the show too.
So when you said that you're going to talk about the thing that was all over the internet today, I thought you were going to talk about that blue and gold dress photograph.
Oh my God, that thing has been everywhere. What the heck?
What's up with that?
And we can talk about that because we're on radio, so.
You get the full effect.
But yeah, I look at it and it looked like, light blue and gold to me. I did not see the black in that at all. Something about the lighting made it go gold for me.
See, it was blue and black for me, and I believe I showed it to Craig. I'm not quite sure what he saw.
I don't think you showed it to me. Did you? Did you?
I probably did. I showed it to you on my smartphone, and it was making the rounds, and it was everywhere today. Like even like advertising campaigns were latching onto it, and I think they had a couple of grad students explain exactly what was going on. So, did you hear like what the science behind it was?
Well, it has to do with the lighting and the surrounding color. And, admittedly, if you kind of like put your hands over it so you're just looking at the dress, it does look a little bit different than if you're getting the cast from the surroundings and the color and such. But, man, that's still gold to me. I don't see it as black at all.
It's still blue and black for me, and people have been saying white and gold, blue and gold, that kind of thing. And what people have been saying about it is that the process going on is when you look at a color, your brain automatically starts filtering out the light source to get the accurate color of whatever you're looking at. So if in your brain you think that picture was taken in a department store with with fluorescent yellow lights, your brain automatically filters out a little bit of yellow, and that'll give you the blue and the black. And then if you think if it was taken outside, with like the blue light from just the atmosphere, your brain will filter out a little bit of blue, and it will think it's white and gold instead. So it's a trick of the brain, and apparently it doesn't happen much, like just randomly. But that was a perfect picture for the experiment.
Yeah, but who was wearing? No one was wearing of any significance was wearing this dress, right?
No, it was just like some wedding reception in Scotland or someplace. It's just a random picture posted to the internet.
And why did it generate all this hubbub about it?
Because it's like 50% of people said it was black and blue, 50% of people said it was gold and yellow, or gold and white.
Actually, those weren't the numbers. It was about 75% thought it was white and gold, and 25% thought it was blue and black. And unlike a lot of these sensory tricks that you see, like or these two faces, or is it a vase? Those sort of things where you can kind of flip in between them. Sure. This is one where people just can't flip back and forth. You either see it one way or the other. People are not able to flip it back and forth.
Well, I guess what I still am mystified by is why. I mean, this is so obscure thing. It wasn't like some fashionista was wearing this. It just came out of nowhere, and somebody. I don't even understand the mechanism by why this got. I can understand if the first lady was wearing it or something, but
no, it went viral.
Yeah, it just went out for no reason. It went viral. Oh.
Sometimes that happens. I always get a kick in dealing with ad agencies and marketing folks is they always have a guarantee. We can make your videos go viral. I was like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
There's just no rhyme or reason when something goes like this one. I mean, could someone have planned this out? No, not at all. No.
No, it's just very bizarre. I couldn't fathom the reason as to why this would become such a big thing about it. But okay.
But it apparently is a blue and black dress. That is apparently the actual color.
I knew it. I was right. Because I could not for the life of me see white and gold, white and gold in that thing for any.
The funny thing, I see the blue, and I haven't like imported it into Photoshop and do the little drop thing to see what colors are actually there. But I could definitely see it as blue, but could understand how somebody could translate that into white, just the way that goes. But the gold, I don't know how black gets to be gold, because that just looks like gold to me.
Well, I mean, when you have the colors red and blue side by side, they will have a shimmering effect because, and what's happening is your eye, they're on the opposite end of the spectrums for how your eyes perceive color, and so when you have if you have blue and red together, you get this like shimmery effect. So, but that's not what's going on here.
No.
No. Well, it's just
a trick that captured the internet for a day, and people are going to be talking about it probably for another day or two, and then no one's going to be talking about it anymore.
So what does this have to do with Leonard Nimoy then? Is there some correlation here?
I don't think so. No.
Other than the fact he was buried in it, no. Okay.
That's a fashion statement.
Yeah, exactly. No. Anyhow, again, it's Friday night. We're all over the road here. What can I tell you? We're talking about Leonard Nimoy passing away, dresses being colors that they're not really those colors, and we're going to talk about net neutrality and Windows 10, maybe. Actually,
how many people recall that Leonard Nimoy was actually on Mission Impossible for one season?
Yes, he was. Yes, yes, he was. Yeah, and how many people? How many people remembered Leonard Nimoy was in a very interesting episode of The Outer Limits?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just saw it a couple weeks ago, actually. It's on MeTV or Antenna TV, one of those.
It was actually
little networks.
It was one of the more memorable ones. It was about the robot that was going to be it actually thought they accused the robot of committing murder, and Leonard Nimoy, I think, was the reporter covering the story.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it had a very sad ending. It was a very, very, very sad ending, because the robot is here. No spoilers, folks. But the robot was convicted, and then as something happens, and the robot saves the life of one of the people, from an automobile accident. But instead gets himself killed. He gets destroyed, and but it was very sad.
It sounds like a win-win. It's just a robot.
Well, it got him out of the situation anyway. Also, Nimoy and Shatner appeared together in an episode of Man from U.N.C.L.E. Right around the same time. That's the one time they appeared together before Star Trek.
Yeah, one of the points I want to make about that is because the movie Chappie is going to be coming out next week or so, and again about robots. The robot back then in the Outer Limits had achieved sentience. It was self-aware. And that's what they were trying to prove, that because it was self-aware, it was alive. And that's one of the things I believe behind this movie Chappie that's coming out. It's going to be one of the first robots that supposedly becomes self-aware, becomes sentient. And so I don't know. I'd like to see that movie, by the way. But anyway, you can see the Outer Limits movie with Leonard Nimoy, and I'm sure you can probably see it. If you just Google it, you can probably see it on YouTube or something and catch the episode. It was a very good episode. What else? He was William Bell and Fringe, and I really liked Fringe too. Fringe was a very good TV series. But
he was in a lot of the classic television of the '60s before Star Trek. He was in an episode of Twilight Zone, I believe. The Outer Limits.
So was Shatner. He was on.
Yeah.
That was in
they both were. I mean, that's how they got their started out,
That's it, yeah. Shatner was the guy who went psycho. He was in an airplane, and he kept seeing a monster on the wing of the plane, and then no one wouldn't believe it. So that was interesting episode. They actually remade that, too, in the later version of The Outer Limits.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, with John Lithgow, I believe, wasn't it?
Yes, you're right. You're right, with John Lithgow. That's exactly.
Yeah, I'm looking here on IMDb, and he was in Gunsmoke, Get Smart, Daniel Boone, Combat, The Virginian.
I don't know any of these people or movies.
Well, I was 6 years old when all these were on TV. General Hospital, Dr. Kildare, Perry Mason. Of course, everybody was on Perry Mason. Perry Mason was like the Law and Order of the early of the 60s. It was everybody who's anybody who's ever on Wagon Train, Laramie, Twilight Zone, of course. I mean, he goes back to the late 50s actually. If you're looking for this stuff, so.
Okay. All right. Well, we're 24.
Oh, well, here's one I did not know. The science fiction movie Them, the one about the ants, the giant.
Yes.
He apparently was like an extra in that. Played an uncredited Army sergeant.
Oh, look at that! All right. Yeah. I remember Them.
You remember Them?
Yeah.
Them.
I remember that movie called Them. Yes, exactly.
Oh, it's a great movie. I mean, yeah. James Whitmore. James Arness was in it too, right?
Played the scientist. Yeah, James Whitmore played the scientist, and he was talking about was it ferric acid? That's was the tip. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of 50s giant bug movies and stuff like that. And there was one. Do you guys get to Sven Gulli where you're at on Saturday nights? He's a Chicago horror movie host, but they run him on MTV, and so it's always really bad, movies. So last week was one which I remember from when I was a kid watching, called The Monolith Monsters.
Oh yes, I remember the monolith.
And basically, the monolith is just like a bunch of rocks, and they grow and they fall down, and they grow and it's rocks, moving at a glacial type pace.
Yeah,
everybody can kind of walk away from them. But that was on last week on Sven Gulli. So.
The Monolith Monsters. I remember that.
But Ben, you got to watch that one. It's an amazing picture. Well, no, it's not. I mean, just how scary can you make a bunch of giant rocks? It's kind of hard to do. The giant ants were a lot scarier.
Well, they had giant ants, giant spiders. They had all kinds of things.
Tarantula was a movie. What was the one with the giant grasshoppers in Chicago?
Oh.
That was with Peter Graves was in that one, I do believe.
What was there was one that I really actually had a lot of good thought behind it. It was from the UK. It was a Quartermass, and it was locusts in it, but basically it was from the year that this was a spaceship that had got discovered in one of the British subway systems. They were drilling and they hit it, and that was actually a pretty good. That was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, it was a pretty intelligent one, which was
very intelligent. Yeah.
I mean, today's audiences wouldn't be scared by any of this stuff. I mean, the pace is so much slower than what we're used to today, and there's always the single young scientist and his girlfriend. These guys are never married. You got to wonder about that. But they've always got the girlfriend, and they always take there's the giant bugs attacking, but the guy and his girlfriend are always sitting there smiling at each other and laughing and stuff, and so that always goes on. And then there's an older scientist who always figures stuff out, but sometimes he gets killed. Yeah. And they kind of follow a formula.
Yeah, they do. And of course, I was at the Theater 3000. The
Mystery Space Theater.
Yep.
They always
Science Theater.
Science 3000. Yeah, they always they take them to make parodies out of them. So
they still do those, like new ones.
Yeah. What was it? This Planet Earth or something was the last one that I saw.
But they do. I think they they're not allowed to take the original movie because of copyright issues, and they're not allowed to do that. So what they do is they actually have a podcast where they say, okay, begin the movie now, and then the audio syncs up and it kind of goes over the video, and so that's how they can do today's movies, movies that just came out on DVD yesterday, and they do those kinds of movies.
Yeah, well, I think it's called Riff Tracks.
Yeah, that's
what the guys do. Yeah, the Mystery Science Theater 3000 actually started up here in Minnesota. It was a local Minneapolis station, Channel 11, I think it was, and it was typical late Saturday night. They got to fill up some space, sort of thing back in the 80s, and they kind of gave Joel the run of the station, and as the production values on MST3K were not stellar. It was kind of cheap, in the basement sort of film stuff anyway, and it kind of just mushroomed from there. They ended up going on what was it, the Sci-Fi Channel back then, or was that the cable channel that they hit it big on? I forget.
Science at the Sci-Fi Channel.
Well, okay. So Anything else? Now that we're 28 minutes into the show, and we're talking movies. What the heck?
And the giant bugs were wearing blue and gold dresses.
Yeah.
And
paying homage to Leonard Nimoy.
Well, Nimoy was in some of the movies. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, these guys acted in anything back then. And, if you've got a part holding a gun in the background while the giant ant runs in front of you, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Makes sense.
But it's interesting how his career, just kind of lent itself to science fiction. Most of the things that he did were sci-fi based, even way back then.
Well, actually, now if you look at IMDb, he just did what they were doing back then. So there was a lot of science fiction movies, but also a lot of westerns. And he did a lot of westerns back then, and Wagon Train and Gunsmoke and all that stuff. So
Leonard McCoy was the guy that Forrest. What was it? DeForest Kelley was in a couple of westerns back then.
Oh yeah, he was in Gunfight at the OK Corral, I believe, wasn't he?
In Star Trek or in the because there was a Star Trek episode.
Both.
All right, you listen to the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the Boost Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network. Author Michael Miller is here with us for both hours. I promise you we will be talking about some computer topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No Hair Removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No Hair Removal.
Thanks. Hey, gals, I love talking about my No. It's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No has patented Thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors. So it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the No, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card. And you don't risk a penny to try it. Try the incredible No hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-5415. That's 800-953-5415. 800-953-5415.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group. All in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Hey, it's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time the QNAP, that's QNAP, model TS131 Turbo NAS. NAS is network attached storage. Now, in rethinking workspaces, we decided that a scanner should, something like a shredder, be in one go-to place that's not your desktop. We think that a modestly powered notebook and one or more scanners could have a place of their own. The idea is that when the need or the mood strikes, we can take a few minutes now and again to feed it sheets to digitize. If the notebook has the scanner software configured to use a folder on a network-attached drive as its target, and to have OCR run on that folder, then other PCs on the network can map that drive and benefit from those scanned images now being searchable. That leaves the challenge of backing up the NAS. QNAP sent two of their TS131 Turbo NAS single-bay gigabit NAS products to fill the bill. These are intelligent boxes with a dual-core ARM Cortex-A9 processor, and believe me, their capacities far exceed our intended usage of them. We put a Seagate SATA 3 drive in each NAS housing. By mapping only one of the NAS products to all of the workstations on the network, and both of them to the scanner station's notebook. We're able to use Casper, which is a nice overnight Delta imaging backup product, to update the image of the main NAS to its companion. Bottom line, QNAP TS131 Turbo NAS devices let us stay speedily and reliably connected to results for functional devices we wanted to disconnect from our desktops. This is Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 34 minutes past the hour. We have Mike Miller here with us. We are talking about whatever we want at this point, because what's the worst that can happen? Is the boss gonna get us in trouble? Doesn't matter. We are the boss. So, but we enjoy old movies. We enjoyed Leonard Nimoy. We enjoy all that kind of stuff. We enjoy dresses, obviously in our spare time. But we should probably get to a topic that is relevant to the show, though.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which do you want to talk about net neutrality, or do you want to talk about Windows 10, Mike? No, you're muted, Mike. So that's what the little thing is on there. Yeah, the unmute. There you go.
I'll talk about anything if I'm muted. There you go.
So
why don't we dive into net neutrality, since that's the big thing in the news today, or yesterday, or both?
Yeah.
Well, other than Nimoy and the gold dress, of course, but
yes,
potentially more important than either of those two topics.
Well, you see, so
big.
It's big. It is big, and evidently one for the net neutrality side. One for their corner.
Yeah. Now the thing is, the FCC made this ruling, kind of tying in broadband internet service to old school utilities, basically treating it as a utility, therefore having regulatory power over it. Obviously, it's not the end of anything. There will be lawsuits brought. There will be, this is going to be fought tooth and nail. Plus, if nothing else happens, if there's a Republican president at some point in the future, he could appoint different people to the FCC, and they could make a totally different ruling, having a Republican one instead of a Democratic one. Plus, ultimately, Congress has got to get involved and actually codify this into law. And we all know how well Congress works together to get things done. So this is not the end of net neutrality at all, but it does kind of put a stake in the ground right now.
Yeah, it's what, they're mentioning the numbers that they got about this whole thing, and it was like 4 million people wrote in and, voiced their opinion on, honestly, was probably something that not many people were familiar with, which was, actually submitting a comment to the FCC on a public discussion. Like, I guarantee almost no one has done that before, and this is really like the first great mass use of that route.
Well, I tell you, one of the guys who brought attention to it was John Oliver on his HBO show. He did a long segment on net neutrality a couple months ago, and had the FCC's number up there and an email address and everything. And that the days following that show showed a huge spike in comments and interest in the thing. So I don't know if you've ever watched Oliver's show on HBO. So it's a wonderful show. It's funny, but he's also tackling complex topics in depth like this. Where you can't. This is not a topic that you can really cover in 3 minutes and try to explain it all.
Yeah.
It's last week tonight with John Oliver. That's it. And yeah, he's done a lot of different topics. For-profit prisons, that kind of thing, and he does a really good job of breaking it down. But you're right. The FCC and that whole net neutrality debate really kind of flew under the radar. Like, admittedly, it was on the heels of SOPA, PIPA, that kind of thing, and so people were kind of already cautious about it. But as soon as John Oliver did it, interest spiked. So.
Exactly. So why don't you want to kind of recap what was passed yesterday?
Yeah. Well, first of all, just talking about what net neutrality is. Putting it very, very, very simply, net neutrality is what we've always had on the internet, where everybody can get anything and without any blockage or slowing down or whatnot. What the big internet service providers like Comcast wanted to change was to be able to charge more for higher bandwidth for certain services, and the one front and center here is Netflix. Basically, since Netflix eats up half the bandwidth of the internet or something like that on a good evening.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they basically said we want to charge more for it. If you want to get Netflix, fast, you might want to pay more for that. And if you don't want to pay more for it, well, we might throttle the speeds a little bit on it. So really, it was a way for them to enhance their obscene profitability. But it would be changing the way the internet works. It would be saying that it's not a free pipe where everything comes to your home. It's like some things you can get and some things you don't. It would really turn it into a cable TV model where you might have tiered services. So the concept of net neutrality is saying no to that. That no, you can't do that. It's got to stay the way it is. That whether you're going to Yahoo or Google or Netflix or Spotify or whatnot, it's all going to come through at the same price at the same speed. Now, the cable companies, in trying to justify their quest for more ungodly profits, they basically said, well, no, you're going, if you put these limitations on us, now, granted, there are no limitations, I mean, it's not changing, net neutrality doesn't change anything, right? We're just codifying the status quo, but the cable companies, the internet service providers say, well, if you're going to force us to have this net neutrality, well, then you'll stifle innovation. And we'll have horrible bandwidth speeds, and you'll never have the networks build out, and all this other bull hockey, which is horrible, because even with competition today, we have some of the worst, slowest, and most expensive bandwidth in the world is in America. We don't have good internet service here. These guys essentially wanted to hold everybody hostage and say, well, I guess it could get worse if you don't let us charge more for this and charge more for that. So the net neutrality proponents are just saying, look, keep it the way it is. That's what net neutrality is. And basically that's what the FCC did. Now, they kind of had to do some gyrations to do it because they've tried to do some of this in the past that's been overthrown by the Supreme Court, saying they didn't have the authority to do this or that. So they basically went to, again, kind of old school, traditional, utility type legislation and saying this applies here, and because of that we can regulate it like a utility and say that no, you can't do this and you can't do that. That's what's probably going to be challenged in court, is does that really apply here, and why eventually there's going to have to be legislation. But I think it was very bold of the FCC. It was along party lines. The 3 Democrats voted one way and the 2 Republicans voted another, basically saying no, you're not going to charge more for Netflix, you're not going to charge more for this, we're going to keep it open and a level playing field. And that's what the majority of users wanted. Not necessarily the majority of companies, but the majority of users wanted that.
And did we wind up getting that from the FCC ruling?
Well, temporarily anyway, until this ruling gets challenged, until a new administration comes on board, until whatnot. This is what we have right now. We essentially have exactly the same thing we have had for 20 years. That's what happened today.
Now, and that's what we hear now. They're already gonna. They're talking about suing?
Yeah, AT&T said that they're a bit more blunt when they said, hey, this can be overturned by a different commission, this can be overturned by a different Senate and Congress, this can be turned over by a different president. Comcast said that they're already planning on suing. Like the big proponents of it, unfortunately, it was very much a people versus business mentality that came into it. So
some businesses now here.
Some businesses.
Google was for net neutrality. Netflix,
Google, Amazon
was for net neutrality. So it's the internet service providers on one side, the internet content providers on the other, if you want to look at it from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
But so the question is, who donates the most in Washington? Is it Comcast and AT&T, or is it Google and Netflix? And it's probably the former. I think they have the lobbying effort set up a little bit more than the tech companies do. That may be changing somewhat, but I think that's the way it plays right now. And as we all know, money buys our democracy, so we've got to look at that.
It's a hard fact, or a hard pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's a lot of money going into, like, you'd be surprised if you looked at the lobbying dollars spent, because apparently you can do that, but you also have to monitor and track how much your donations are, and they spend more than military contracts, in terms of lobbying money. So like, Time Warner spends more than any other military person building tanks just to get just to increase their prices on your internet service. It's crazy.
And money talks. I mean, let's face it, it does. You can try and deny that, but you can't. So these companies, and hey, it's a business expense. They spent X amount of money on lobbying, but that brings in Y amount in profits over the long term. So they look at it as a marketing expense, I suppose, probably out of a different budget than that, but that's how they look at it. And I suppose that's fair. I mean, if I were running a business, I'd want to do whatever I could to increase the profitability of my business.
Yeah.
But with the Supreme Court decision a year or so ago that basically said corporations are people and you can't limit how much they spend, well, it's just going hog wild now. And what's best for the funny thing in this net neutrality thing, I'm not sure anybody's asked, other than us consumers, what's best for us consumers.
What is best?
Well, I think what's best is what we have now, where you don't charge me more for Netflix, or make it harder for me to get to this site, or penalize me for not paying more or penalize me because Netflix doesn't pay off Comcast, which is basically the way this would generally work. No, I want free and open access to everything. And let's face it, broadband internet service in most locations, in most cities in the United States, is a monopoly. The majority of people who receive broadband service do not have
a choice,
more than one supplier. They have one supplier. So it is a monopoly, and monopolies are like the old utilities, the power company, the water company. They're regulated because of that, because they are monopolies. So to me, it makes sense to regulate whoever it is who's piping the internet into my household. In a lot of countries, it isn't even left to private companies. It's the government that provides it because they view it as a utility. Here in the U.S., we've got to rely on Comcast and AT&T and these other bozos, and who provide us with very slow speeds at very high costs, if you look at this sort of thing. And, do we want to make it so it's even worse?
Well,
I say regulate the hell out of them. I'm unabashedly, if somebody's got a monopoly, and because they have a monopoly, they can screw me as much as they want. I say no. Let's put a limit to how much I can be screwed. Only a little bit here, not a whole lot. I don't want to be screwed all the way. I only want to be screwed part of the way. That's why we have regulation.
Yeah, there are a few things like the free market does a lot, and I know we're getting a little political here, but that's just the nature of the conversation. But it's there are some things that you should be able to make a profit on, and there are some things that you shouldn't. Private prisons and healthcare and people's lives, things like that, are shouldn't you? Honestly, I don't think you should make a profit. But also, it's utility. You shouldn't be charging people for more for water because they need it more. You should be charging it based on supply and demand, or not supply, but just here's your supply and here's a steady rate. Not because it's Tuesday and everyone wants water Tuesday. We're going to charge you more Tuesday. You regulate it because it's something that people need, and and right now private companies are the only ones supplying it, even though it's something that's really necessary in today's business. I mean, even here, Computer America, we could not do, we'd just be opening up our windows and screaming out the windows if we didn't have the internet to do our show. It's, it's something that people need.
But and again, beyond that, there is no competition. And to me, this is the key thing. For capitalism to work, there has to be competition. There has, you have to have 2 or 3 or more companies competing for my business. Okay. Well, I don't have that. I can choose from Comcast or maybe Comcast, but that's all I can get for internet. So they basically have me over the proverbial barrel. They could double their rates, and what the hell am I going to do about it?
Well, wait.
I got nobody else to go to. So in an instance like that, regulation makes sense.
Wait. Now, I don't understand, because you say you only have Comcast. I mean, you don't have AT&T Uverse available? You don't have DirecTV? I
don't call satellite internet real competition. It's not even in the broadband range. Come on now. Yeah, I suppose I could do dial-up and go back to AOL. I think we're up to 9600 baud now. But
they don't have DSL in your area?
Actually, I have Frontier is my lousy phone company, and they may have DSL, but the rates, but the speed isn't competitive.
And the cable company is just you're getting.
You only have. I mean, basically, most people are getting internet from their cable company. There's only one cable company per market, and cable companies themselves are regulated locally in most cases. You know, your local city council passes regulations to say, okay, if we're going to give the franchise to Comcast or Time Warner or whoever, I guess that's the same now, or will be. Well, you've got to do this. You've got to give us the public access channels. You've got to keep rates here. Blah 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 blah. Well, you know, internet is you know, a huge part of Comcast business. I don't know how the numbers break out for them, how much of their profits they make from internet providing, and how much they make from cable. But you got to know that the internet part is increasing and has been increasing. So you know, yeah, regulate it. When it is essentially a monopoly for most people, you know, don't let them charge an arm and a leg. You know, put some sort of cap on it.
Yeah. Especially
And certainly don't you know tell me what I can and can't get from your internet service. You know, because that's kind of the next step, isn't it? You know, say, oh, we're going to slow down Netflix, or we're going to charge more for this. Oh, you know, we're just not going to let you go here. Our search provider is Bing, so we're going to filter out Google. You know, that's what they do in China, but you know, I don't think that's really what we want to do here in the U.S.
Yeah, it's that whole slippery slope argument, but it's when you create, like, because the cable companies, they were pretty adamant about no one is going to get slower speeds. It's just people can pay for faster speeds. So
well, isn't that the same thing?
It's completely doublespeak. It's completely doublespeak. So what they were going to say is everyone gets the normal speed, and then let's say Netflix pays us a small fee of, I'm sure, billions of dollars. We're gonna let people view their content at a much faster rate than normally would be allowed. And you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, so what if I'm a Fox News reader and I'm subscribed to Comcast, who is a devout supporter of MSN or CNN, and they don't like Fox, and they cut the bandwidth to Fox. Like, they could then kind of have different services or different plans based on what you enjoy and what you can get with your internet. Just like you were saying earlier, they could have easily taken the next step and turned it into a cable TV package system instead of the open buffet of the internet we have today.
Yeah. And here's something that I'm not sure most people know. Netflix is already paying more for faster service from these bozos. I'm reading a story now from the AV Club from a couple months ago, basically saying that Netflix buys bandwidth from middleman companies who then deliver the content to the ISPs, and in doing so, Netflix is paying for a faster tunnel to the ISPs. So already Netflix is paying more.
Which is not fair.
Well, now, let's look at the other side. Your Time Warner, your AT&T, your Comcast, whoever you are, and on a good night, Netflix takes up 30% of your bandwidth. And your customers are complaining because their Netflix keeps freezing on them. So you're kind of forced to build out your network and build up your bandwidth. Why? Just for that one company, just for Netflix? Is that fair either?
It's fair, and here's the way I saw it. Netflix isn't the one pushing out all this data, all this bandwidth usage. They aren't the one just pushing it out and saying, hey, ISPs, deal with this while we go hog wild. They're not the ones saying it. The ones who are making them use that much data are their customers, are people who are already paying their ISPs to say, hey, we pay you $40 a month, $60, $80, $100 a month, whatever we pay you. Let us watch Netflix, and then they're somehow trying to double dip and say, okay, well, let's get money from our customers who are asking for this data, and then let's give and then let's get money from the content provider for using all this data that our customers are asking for. It's seedy.
And look at it, I'm sure for some number of people, they have internet service just to get Netflix. That's one of the primary reasons they have the internet. So, you know, they sign up for the $80 a month service or whatnot to get Netflix, and then you have Comcast saying, well, but if you really want Netflix, so it's like watchable, well, you got to pay more, or we'll make Netflix pay more, or whatever. So, yeah, you're right. It is kind of a chicken and an egg sort of thing there. But that is the one place where I have a little bit of sympathy, very little, for the ISPs, is that they do have one customer, one website, Netflix, which is a third of all the bandwidth out there. And is that really fair? That these guys are hogging up all that bandwidth?
I say yes, because again, it's not Netflix saying, "Hey, deal with our traffic." It's your customers who are paying you want our service. We're sorry, but and Netflix is very reasonable when they come out and they say it. They're like, "Okay, well, we have to pay Comcast an extra." An extra so-and-so fee to use data to bring you a good service, or else they're going to throttle us, or we have to pay AT&T. So they come out and they say, because if you remember, like 3 or 4 years ago, Netflix streaming was like $7 a month. Now it's almost up to $9, and they pass the buck on to you, but they come out and they say why it's gone from 7 to 9, and it's that these cable providers, the internet providers, are charging them more to provide content. So
well, that's one reason the price has gone up. Actually, the main reason their prices have gone up because they're paying more for content. I mean, sidebar on this, but when Netflix got started, they got most of their content for pennies. I mean, they were doing the DVD delivery service, and the big studios didn't know anything about the streaming video stuff, so they signed some pretty lucrative deals that is lucrative for Netflix. Well, as those contracts came up for renewal, Sony, all the big movie companies said, "Oh, no, you're not getting it for free anymore. Not getting it for cheap anymore. You got to pay for this now." So obviously Netflix passes along the costs of the increased content. But still, whether it's $7 a month or $9 a month, that Netflix is still a heck of a bargain for consumers. I don't care
definitely.
how you look at it. Yeah.
There's some great movies on Netflix. And of course, Netflix, of course, has expanded. And they're producing their own shows now too. So where you can only get it on Netflix.
But this thing is not about the value of Netflix and that kind of thing. We're roundabout hitting on net neutrality and how Netflix was one of the key players in net neutrality. And net neutrality, yay, we won yesterday for a little bit. So that was good.
But it's going to come up again. Is it ever going to go to rest? I mean, eventually they're going to keep winning, and then they'll say, okay, fine, they'll just give up, and that's it.
Ultimately, there's going to have to be legislation that legislates it into place. That's going to have to come from Congress. It obviously is not going to come from this Congress, which can't, get their act together to get a lunch order from Jimmy John's together. But at some point in time, there will be a Congress that will have to address this and will have to pass legislation one way or another. And that's where we hope that the voices of reason take precedence over the voices of money, because we know that you can buy votes in Congress. So, who knows what will happen in the years to come? It could reverse itself a year from now. This is not a done deal.
No, it's not. But it's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
Okay.
It seems to me that before the victory yesterday, you were fighting to keep change from it seems like the tides have turned. Like now, before you were keeping it from changing, and now you're keeping it the same. Like, I don't know. I think I just worked myself into a circle. Never mind. It seems like with this victory, it's like now you actually are defending something. Before you were just defending, like, hey, we don't want everything you're pushing on us, and now we actually have something that we can say, hey, we want to defend this. So.
Well, as we said, it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully it will stay that way.
Yeah, Craig didn't care either way. That's right, I said it.
I didn't care either way. Of course I cared.
Oh, yeah, no, backtrack now. I have you on tape.
Okay. All right, well, we're coming up to the top of the hour. Anything else we want to say more about net neutrality, or we're going to shift over to Windows 10 when we come back? Mike, anything else you want to mention?
Well, other than the whole net neutrality thing doesn't address the problem that we are one of the slowest countries in terms of bandwidth speeds out there for broadband at the highest cost. that whatever is supposedly working in our capitalistic system right now isn't working. It's delivering the same types of value we get in the healthcare system. We pay more than other Western countries and get much lower broadband speeds out of it.
How do we, this great nation of ours, will find ourselves in this position? We should be at the forefront about all of this, and yet we're behind.
Yes, we are.
Admittedly, it's not a one-to-one comparison because America is very much larger than, say, Sweden or Norway or Germany or France or what have you. It's a very much a larger area with a lot more rural people. But in populated places, there is no excuse. Like you can see Google Fiber come in and start providing really, really good service for really, really cheap, and populated places, no excuse. Rural places, you're kind of in the boonies. Sorry, folks.
Well, okay, I'm just typing something in the chat room. So anyhow,
actually, just like one more quick thing, this apparently also leaves it open for local cities to actually start managing their own networks and creating their own broadband networks. So we could see more of what we've seen in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where cities are actually starting their own ISPs rather than relying on the big companies.
Yeah, I mean, the big companies you would think would have an incentive to improve their service to get more business, but if they have a monopoly, as they do now, there's really no incentive to improve their service. And that's kind of where we're at now. Either we need more competition, or we just need the government to come in and kick everybody's butt and do it better. All right, if that can happen.
Listen to the Computer America Show, and we got another hour coming up, another News Tips Bulletin review, and our show reminder winner of the week. Stay with us.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we continue on with Mike Miller, author extraordinaire, over 150 books, and who is currently muted. And we continue on with them. We just finished up with net neutrality, and now we're going to kind of change the gears and head into talk about Windows 10. Of course, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to announce our show reminder winner of the week. And again, just a quick reminder that tonight is the last night for our Logitech contest. We close it up at midnight tonight Eastern Time. And then over the weekend we draw the 3 winning names and then start the contest over again. But you got to get your entry in now. You have about a little less than an hour to get your entry in at ComputerAmerica.com. So what's happening with Windows 10, Mike?
Well, we're smack dab in the middle of technical preview season. Microsoft released the first version of the technical preview of Windows 10 back in end of October, I believe it was. We're about due. They've been releasing new versions about every month, so we're about due for a new version of the technical preview. We're still waiting for some features to be filled in. The last version of the technical preview added Cortana, however you pronounce her, which is the Siri-like intelligent assistant, which goes kind of in place of the normal system search in Windows 10. That was added in the last technical preview. They've made some interface changes from preview to preview. The big thing we're waiting on now, though, is the new web browser. Microsoft's going to be kicking Internet Explorer into the dustbin of history, still making it available for people who like to live in the dustbin of history. But they're introducing a new web browser based on a new engine. It's codenamed Spartan. We don't know what they're really going to call it, and nobody's really seen it yet. So they're kind of introducing this into the operating system kind of late in the game. But that's what we're waiting on now, is to see the new web browser. We're still looking at some interface tweaks. They're changing icons here and there and that sort of thing. But most of that seems to be kind of nailed down. So we're waiting for the web browser to come out and get everything kind of integrated together.
This, can we read anything like lean, mean, you know, fighting machine kind of thing, or is it just a code word and it really can't be?
Spartan? I don't know. Well, it's going to be like Firefox and Chrome. It's going to be a faster browser. It's going to have less junk in it. It's going to be more adaptable for extensions and add-ons, that sort of thing. I mean, let's face it. Look, on the surface, you look at Internet Explorer and Chrome and Firefox, they all kind of look the same. But in actual day-to-day use, they're not. I mean, Internet Explorer feels like such an old car. You know, it feels like you're driving a '57 DeSoto or something out there. It just really does. So just canning it and putting a new browser in, I think, is a very smart idea on Microsoft's part. I don't know whether, you know, it always remains to be seen whether that's really going to be successful for them or whether Chrome has just grabbed up the market share and that's the way it is. But this will at least give them a fighting chance from a technological basis to try and win back some of the browser market share. Certainly, it's going to be, you know, anything can be better than Internet Explorer right now. I mean, people are only using it because that's what's in Windows.
Yeah. By the way, Ben, Lucas in the chat room says he likes your banner. He understands it.
Thank you. Finally, someone else. It's not a very obscure reference, so I'm glad someone got it. But yeah, no. I'm guessing you've had some time, Mike, with the technical preview. Like you've actually had some hands-on with it.
I have written 2.5 books about it so far. I'm smack dab in the middle of my 3rd book right now. So yeah, and I'm going to have to rewrite some of them because they are changing. I mean, here's the thing: as bad as Microsoft has been in listening to consumers, I mean, witness Windows 8, you know, basically, you know, saying screw you to 1 billion consumers. With Windows 10, they've taken the exact opposite tack. I didn't think they'd be able to pull it off, but they're really listening to consumer feedback, and they're making change. I mean, you can see it with each technical preview that they've made changes based on customer feedback. So I think they're doing a lot right about it. It is an operating system. It feels like, if you're a Windows 7 user, it feels like the natural upgrade to Windows 7. It's Windows 7 done better, and as opposed, and basically they took out all the annoying stuff from Windows 8. It's not like they added new stuff back in. They took it out. There's no more charms bar. There's no more start screen. There's no more corner-based navigation. They took all that crap out, and they basically went back to Windows 7 and just started making a better Windows 7, and that's what Windows 10 feels like.
That's what I wanted to ask you was, did they learn anything from Windows 8 though? If you could look at it from an experiment point of view, like did anything carry over?
Well, in improving the start menu, they used some of what they were doing on the old start screen. So that if you pin an application to the start menu, well, in Windows 7 that just goes onto the list of folders, right? Any apps that you pin. Well, in Windows 10, the pinned apps appear as tiles. So the start menu doesn't just go up, it goes up and over to the right. And on the right, you've got the pinned apps, and the pinned apps appear as tiles, and in some cases, live tiles. You know, if you pin the weather app, it's going to be a live tile there. And you can resize the tiles, and you can move them around and all that stuff also. So they did learn a little bit from Windows 8 in that. They also had, with Windows 8, they developed some pretty good modern applications, and some pretty bad ones too, but they had some decent ones. The problem is nobody wanted to use them because they all ran full screen in Windows 8, and they took up way too. I mean, do you need a weather app to run full screen? You know, it's a huge waste of real estate. Well, with Windows 10, they've turned these full screen apps into normal windowed apps on the desktop. So, you know, you start up the weather app and it doesn't run full screen. It runs in a little bitty window on the desktop as it should. So, you know, hopefully users will, one, you know, use more of these apps than they were using them before, but Microsoft will also encourage developers to develop more of them now that people will actually be using them. And in addition, Microsoft is making the code kind of universal for these apps. In fact, they're now called universal apps. It used to be Metro, then they were Modern, then they were Windows Store. Now they're going to be universal apps because it's basically a write once, run on all platforms. So a developer can write an app, just one app, and it'll run on Windows Phone, it'll run on the tablet, it will run on desktop and notebook PCs too. So Microsoft has learned from that also. But here's the main thing they learned is that people don't want to be forced into a usage pattern that doesn't fit the way they use computers. They don't want to be forced to switch from one graphical environment to the next. They want to use the desktop, and they want that experience to be as enhanced as possible. But that's what Microsoft learned. They learned how their customers use their product. And, that's all they needed to learn. You learn that, and you can start doing the right thing for the customer base.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah, fair enough. So, at this point, you mentioned what version are they on now at this point, and they haven't indicated when they're going to finally come out with it at this point.
Well, what we're hearing, what they've been saying is sometime in the fall. What we're hearing through back channels is that they're probably going to go RTM, release to manufacturing, in the June timeframe, because that will get them on PCs that are coming out in the back-to-school market. Now, they may not release to the corporate market in that time frame, but to get it on all the consumer PCs, that's what we're looking at. That means they've probably got, we're at the end of February now, going into March, so they probably got 2, maybe 3 different iterations of the technical preview before they go RTM with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd really hate for them to, I know they're going to have the deal where if you have a Windows 7 or 8 machine, you get a free upgrade for a year after its update, or after the Windows 10 is released. But still, it would really stink if they missed an entire back-to-school cycle and a holiday cycle of no Windows 10 on computers.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to do that. Windows 10, I'm not going to say it's rock solid right now because we're still missing parts like the new web browser, but it feels solid. It feels like if they wanted to flip the trigger on this, they could do it pretty quick. So they're really just finessing some of the interface right now. They're changing, all the icons, all the graphics are changing. They're working with a new settings window, which it doesn't replace Control Panel, but it can replace Control Panel for most people, and they're still kind of fine-tuning that as it goes along also. I really think in the process now is they kind of got everything out there. They're listening to the consumer feedback. They're figuring out what they need to tweak, what they need to move here, what they need to move there, and whenever they want to nail it down, they can nail it down.
The settings window is going to be sort of like the most used settings that people would change in the Control Panel, and they're making it into one window. So, and the people want more advanced or more esoteric settings that can go to the Control Panel, but the settings just take care of the most frequently adjustable things.
Well, it certainly does, but they keep adding more stuff to the settings panel. I think the ultimate goal is to replace Control Panel with the settings panel. The settings window is a lot easier to navigate. You look at the way the Control Panel is. It has, it's had this added. It's like this Frankenstein's monster that's had things grafted onto it over the years. The settings panel, they're trying to take a look at all those settings and make sense out of them, simplify them for people to get to. Same stuff in a lot of cases, but a lot better user experience.
All right. Okay. So, when is the next iteration supposedly coming up?
Yeah, I would expect it within the next week or so, if they follow on to past experiences, sometime around the 1st of March, which March hits this weekend. But from what I'm hearing, it's probably not going to be big changes. They've changed. I know I've seen some screenshots. They've changed the recycle bin icon to something very ugly, so I hope they change it again. Little things. I think we're getting into where, with the exception of adding the new browser in, I think we've seen most of the major stuff hit it already, and we're just looking at little tweaks from here on out.
So what are they waiting for?
Well, one is the browser. Nobody has seen it yet. I've heard they're using it internally at Microsoft, but it hasn't hit any of the builds or anything yet, even the leaked stuff.
Which is unusual because usually this gets, you see leaks. You get, you see it appear on some of these leak sites and everything.
I hate leaky Windows. It costs you so much in heating bills and awful.
Yeah. there's been no leakage as to what the next what the browser is going to look like. Or have you seen anything?
No, nothing. I mean, you even wonder, like, hey, maybe they're pulling our leg. Maybe there's no new browser because we haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
But no, we haven't seen anything on the browser.
It's atypical, which is very unusual because usually you get to see that. You get to see something. You know, I don't know whether the leaks are intentional or what, but usually I don't think I've ever seen something this close to and not, other than the fact that they've announced it, you know, a few weeks ago, not seeing anything from any.
Yeah, I mean, if we're really 3 to 4 months away from RTM, they've got to start testing the browser. It's got to be in there.
Okay, and then when they do that, you have to start changing your books again.
Oh, that's just a given. I've written these books. I call it the first draft of the books. And we will go through, you know, whenever we get the RTM, we'll go through as fast as we can. By we, I mean me, go through as fast as I can to, you know, basically it's going to be changing screenshots more than anything else. The browser thing is a hole in the books right now. I've just said this section to come, and we'll plop that into the last minute. The functionality, really, I don't anticipate changing much, but, you know, the look of this icon or whether you flip this switch or that switch might change a little bit. You know, so we kind of go through with a fine-tooth comb at the last minute and make whatever changes we need to. I fully anticipate reshooting every screenshot in the darn book.
And then after the RTM comes out, then how soon before you finally do it? Then they it's never a static thing. It's always dynamic. They're going to make little tweaks and changes anyway. Some of that will probably make what you have in your book inaccurate.
Well, that's interesting. My publisher has been having a lot of discussions over the past couple months. Q Publishing. Which is a company I used to work for, so I know both sides of the table on this one. And they're looking at a new software model where there may not be a new version of Windows ever. Windows 10 might be the last version of Windows, and at some point we'll all be paying a yearly subscription fee. I mean, Microsoft has essentially said that Office 2015, when it comes out, will be the last version of Office. Or, I mean, that's what they're saying. Now, 5 years from now, they might change their mind, but they're saying, you know, but they'll be upgrading it constantly because we'll be on a subscription program. We'll all be on Office 365. Adobe is already doing this with the Creative Suite, where you're on a subscription and you get updates to the software, and there's really no new versions, but there's constant updates. So the publisher's asking, well, how do we deal with that in the book market? And the way they intend to deal with it is when enough changes have built up, they will revise the book. And that's kind of hard to do with printed books, but it's a lot easier to do with electronic books. That, you know, to just issue a brand new electronic version of the book every 90 days or 6 months or whatever isn't that hard to do, other than somebody's got to do the work. So that's the discussions I've been having with them, is how do they involve the authors in this? How do the authors get paid? Who does the work? Does the author do the work? Does they bring in somebody else? So it is a complicating factor in the computer book market, but it's one that at least one publisher, Q Publishing, is trying to address.
Ben and I talked about this not too long ago, but the fact that this might be the last version of Windows 10. If you know, everything else is in the cloud, and I think we had actually mentioned too. Well, the operating system's in the cloud. But then, if you don't pay the subscription, what happens to your operating system? You know, then does it become stagnant? I mean, what are the recourses there? That's actually an interesting dilemma.
That is a fair question, unless you don't have to worry about paying for it. Look at Google Chrome, Chrome OS. This is a cloud-based operating system. In fact, I'm doing a new version as soon as I free up this last Windows book I'm doing a new version of my Chromebook book. It's called My Chromebook. So it's my Chromebook book. Anyway, and my editor is saying, okay, can we say that which version of the software, you know, which version of the operating system is this on? And the answer is yeah, or no, or there's no version. You know, we really can't, you know, you're used to putting a big starburst on the book. Now covers version 2, you know. Yeah. You can't do that anymore. It doesn't. I'm just going to cover whatever the latest build is. You know, where I really can't say it covers this new version, or even that there's a compelling reason to do a new edition of the book now. I mean, there is, because the old one's a little bit out of date, but there's no, you know, big official release of the operating system to hang a book on anymore, because it's just they update it every day or every week or whenever they need to.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess in a way, is that a good thing? I mean, I watch Apple, and they come out with this, and they come out with they came out with this Yosemite, and before that they had whatever the one before, and then of course Mountain Lion and Lion. They had all these different improvements. Of course, Apple doesn't charge for its operating system anymore, so I guess it's almost a moot point. But wouldn't it be nicer if it's just, your system would check in with Apple servers and it said, oh, there's some tweaks and improvements here to the operating system, and just keep updating the operating system to do more and more and have it structured that way?
Well, that's the way Google's working it, and Google doesn't charge for their operating system either. I mean, maybe Microsoft can't charge for their operating system. Maybe they charge for support, but they don't charge for the operating system itself. I don't know. Because you're right. I mean, if you don't pay the subscription fee, what are they going to do? Turn Windows off on your computer? That's not going to fly. So it's almost like they have to keep offering it. They can't. Did they turn you off of the weekly upgrades or whatnot? Well, that's not good for them either. They want everybody on the latest version for a number of reasons. One, supposedly they're going to be more stable. Two, easier to support if everybody's on the same version. If they have 52 different versions over the course of the year and people are on one of the 52, think of the headaches that would be in terms of support. No, one of the reasons to do this kind of daily automatic upgrade is that everybody will be on the same version, so it's easier to support. So this is a brave new world that we're entering here for this. It's not the way it worked back in the 1990s. This is going to be a different way of doing things, and I don't think anybody's got it figured out yet. I mean, the only company that's really, the companies that have really been doing it, one, are the cloud-based companies like Google. And they don't charge for anything, so money doesn't enter into it with Google. But the one company where money does enter into it that they have been doing it is Adobe, with the Creative Suite. So you really kind of have to look at them as a leader in terms of models.
And how is it working out for Adobe?
I wish I knew more. I'm not. I don't use the Creative Suite. I'm not in that part of the computer market. From the people I talk to, it seems to be working okay. In fact, they've been one of the companies that's really been driving my publisher, Q, to look at the changes they're making. That they just have to deal with it. That obviously is working well enough for them that they have to deal with it.
Right.
It's going to be working well for them because not only is it they get to keep a product completely continuously updated, that kind of crap, but Adobe was one of the most popular torrented, illegally downloaded, pirated pieces of software, and that was Photoshop and Illustrator, After Effects. All of their editing software were very highly pirated. So when you can do mainly a subscription model through the cloud, you are also protecting yourself from piracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, a little bit of lag there. Okay.
Oh.
Did you catch that, Mike?
Yeah, and no, that's a very good point for Adobe. Now, what does Adobe charge for their Creative Suite here? They've got different plans, right? They call it Creative Cloud, and anywhere from $9.95 to $49.99 a month is what they charge. Whether you just want Photoshop or whether you want Illustrator, or whether you want all the other stuff. So. For those kind of rates, I mean, that's a good thing for them. If they're charging $50 a month for the whole shebang, what is that over the course of the year? If I'm doing my math here, about $600.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Every year.
But their entire suite, like their old master collection, used to run about $2,000.
Yeah.
And people really didn't like shelling out $2,000. Like even though they got to keep the program, until the end of time, after about 4 years, which is kind of what $600 a year would come out to, after about 4 years, they had a new version out anyways that you had to drop more money on, then too. So in terms of prices, it stays about the same.
Yeah, and actually, if you're just doing Photoshop at $10 a month, that's $120 a year. That's not a bad deal. I mean, you would spend that much on buying a new version of Photoshop Elements every year, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it goes, $99 or $120. Yeah, for Elements.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Elements, just a watered down version. I mean, it's a consumer version of Photoshop. Basically.
Right. Yeah, it's got a few things left out. It's maybe a version or so behind if you want to look at it that way in terms of the extras in it. But
Photoshop has its own cottage industry. There's so many companies that have add-ons or plugins to Photoshop, giving it additional power. So when you spent that $400 or $600 on your Photoshop, your costs weren't over. You had to also buy all the modules and things that you were using that from others, to do additional adjustments or whatever they do to bring it up to speed. So Photoshop could actually cost you a lot more. Now, I don't know if the plugins and everything are now in the cloud as well. I would imagine they would be.
I don't know, and who knows what the third-party companies charge for these sort of things. So
yeah, I mean, there's masking. They have these, ultra masking that the things that lend different abilities to the actual Photoshop. And if you're really into using Photoshop, you probably are using those tools and paying more money with that. So these are other considerations too. Maybe.
But, as I said, the other company to look at here is Google. With their entire, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Gmail, all these things being cloud-based. I can tell you from writing books and doing video projects about these things, they just, there's no rhyme or reason as far as when they update them. I mean, you just start it up one day and all of a sudden there are 12 new functions in, Google Sheets, sort of thing. So you don't, it's not like we're on version 2.5. I mean, that just, it just doesn't have that way of thinking. It's just, this is what we're using, and Google updates it as necessary and makes changes as necessary, and they can do it. Then, they're not limited to only releasing new changes once a year. If something's important, they can do it tomorrow if they want to. And I think ultimately that's a good deal for consumers, although it can be very confusing to consumers. Corporations don't necessarily like this subscription thing. In fact, what I'm hearing is Microsoft is going to give corporations, their IT market, the option of opting out of the weekly updates and only staging the updates on their schedules. Because every time they change something, well, that's something that users have to get used to, right? If they move the tabs around here, they add something new to the ribbon or whatever, if you're used to using it one way, all of a sudden, you're bumfoozled. And, running a corporate IT department, you don't want bumfoozled users. They've got to train all these guys. So, but even from a consumer standpoint, think about it. Every time Facebook makes a minor change, they have a couple million people complaining about it just because it was something that changed. When Office does make changes in new editions, they added a ribbon, they did this, people get all upset because it's not what I was used to doing. I was used to doing it this way. Why did you change it? So I think this constant change, weekly updates or whatever it is a double-edged sword. I think ultimately it should be a good thing, but it could be very confusing to consumers who just start up the operating system one day and all of a sudden something's different in it. They didn't even have any warning about it.
Well, maybe they should warn them and say, look, coming up here, they're going to be the following changes, and here's what you need to do. And have that part built into the operating system itself.
It would be nice that Microsoft and Google, anyway, don't have the history of doing that. I mean, think about, the Service Pack updates or even the weekly updates you get now. I mean, what does Microsoft tell you? I mean, if you click a couple times, you can get down to the message that says, see Knowledge Base Article 5732329B to figure out what got changed this week. They haven't been that marketing focused on it. Now, should they be? Yes, I agree with you. If they're going to introduce, pop new stuff on the screen in front of me, tell me about it. Give me some warning. At least, tell me what you did. Historically, they haven't been good at that.
Well, maybe now with the cloud-based, maybe they haven't been good for it because they weren't cloud-based. It required, updates. Now that the fact that they're cloud-based, maybe they'll have a built-in warning system as part of it.
I think they need a very much simplified changelog. Like, it's very hard to find the changelog from update to update because they change so many things. If they could just get a solid changelog in there, it would help a lot of people.
Or just send me an email or something. I mean, you say Microsoft's not used to it because they're not cloud-based. Fine. What about Google? You know, when was the last time Google actually let you know that they were changing something?
I saw that in Gmail. They would come up with an announcement and say, "Hey," and you could go back to the classic version too if you wanted. They would let you use the classic version for a while.
That's true. That's true. And I noticed that with Gmail, and that I noticed it because it was the first time they ever did that.
Uh-huh.
Right? They have not been doing that with docs and sheets and slides,
No.
but they did do that with Gmail last time around, and that was interesting that they did that.
Okay. And here I thought they were doing that all the time.
No. It's like you start it up and you know, what the hell is that? And it's a whole new world, and wasn't even looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. So Gmail was one of the first times that they've done it. Well, maybe it'll catch on.
They did it with Google Calendar too, and they've been doing it, here and there. But eventually, they really do kind of force you to opt over. Like you can't just stay stuck in the past. So.
Yeah, they give you time to kind of try out the new one, but eventually you have to use the new one.
And those are major changes. I mean, this latest version of Gmail was a complete interface overhaul. Most of the changes you get is they change this functionality in slides, or they, give you more formatting options in docs, or more functions in sheets, or whatever. And those things get kind of slipstreamed, and you might not even know they're there.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose that's another. In my case, it's not so much complaining that they've changed stuff as that I didn't even know they changed it. Somebody will say, I have written that you can't do that in Google Docs, and then somebody say, hey, you can. I go, when did they add that? When did that happen? Nobody told me.
They need to have a direct line to Mike Miller and say, hey, listen.
Oh, I wish that Google has been the least cooperative tech company I've ever dealt with.
Well. And, they need to let you guys know, especially that you're writing all these books to inform so many.
Oh, they're not going to cater that way. It's
Microsoft does. Microsoft has a whole department to deal with third parties and tech publications and whatnot. Google won't return anybody's calls.
Well, there you go.
I mean, if they could develop an algorithm to deal with this, they would probably do it. But if it involves actually human contact, I don't think they have any humans at Google anymore.
We're at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to come back with our show reminder winner of the week, and then we're going to continue on with the rest of the show tonight. This is the Friday edition of the Computer America Show. We'll be right back. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission is to protect and enhance the lives of companion animals and the people who love them. Their no-kill rescue shelter is open year-round, making it easy for people to adopt their best new friend. This year, Brother Wolf will find homes for over 2,400 orphan dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens. All have ended up as an orphan through no fault of their own. Brother Wolf has created a safe, nurturing environment where these special animals can heal emotionally and physically until they find a lifelong home. Their life-saving transport program brings dogs and puppies from overcrowded shelters in the south to rescues in the north where homes are easier to find. Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is a 501c3 organization. To learn more about their life-saving work and to make a donation, visit their website at www.bwar.org. That's www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number. 1-866-663-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
And we're off. Hi, it's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Lutron Caseta Smart Fridge. Not sure how you pronounce it. It's a C-A-S-E-T-A. Lutron is best known for making outlets and switches and other necessities for electrical work. They also make some of these with electronics. they can talk to the Caseta control system, which can also work with a Honeywell Wi-Fi thermostat, a Nest thermostat, and a few motorized window shades or rollers. They send a Caseta Smart Bridge. Plugging it into a wall wart and a gigabit port, then fetching its app, had it running quickly. Like many home control systems, this one uses quote-unquote scenes, each denoting some combination of settings for connected stuff. You choose whether they trigger manually or on a schedule. The hub uses 430 to 440 megahertz radio with a 30-foot range, which means roughly 2,800 square feet, and it limits control to no more than 50 sensors or effectors. Bottom line, with good planning, a Lutron Caseta Smart Bridge can be programmed for secure, intelligent, automatic control of lights, shades, and more, with a smartphone that need not ever run its app again, but may for changes or direct manual control. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Before we get back to Michael Miller here and all of our topics tonight, it is Friday, second hour, half hour, bottom of the hour, and Logitech is generous enough that we actually like to give stuff away at this allotted time to a lucky subscriber to our show reminder. So,
well, it's been a while, but since we had Mike play the digital drums, but I guess we're now actually on automatic. So
just push the button.
We're just gonna push the button. All right. This week's show reminder winner is Daniel Merkel. Daniel Merkel, congratulations. You win the Logitech Wireless Rechargeable Touchpad T650. This is a glass touchpad, beautiful touchpad, and it's worth $80, and it supports all the gestures, and it's just a really beautiful touchpad. And Daniel, you have won it this week. So congratulations! And again, we to all of you, if you want to be like Daniel and win something really nice, head over to our website at computeramerica.com and subscribe to our show notes. It's just that simple. Just it says right there on our homepage, it says show notes. So our weekly newsletter. You just click on the weekly newsletter button, and it says how to sign up. Just put your email address in there and your first and last name. Click the subscribe button. It'll send you a confirmation email to which you must reply. And for those of you who are on the list and you do it, it'll already tell you that you're on there, so you don't have to worry about it. I think, though, we're past that point because we've migrated over. It's been a couple of months now. But anyway, you'll once you're in, you will get the acknowledgement that you're signed up, and then every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, you will have the show reminder, our weekly newsletter, delivered fresh into your email inbox. It is the only publication in the universe that will tell you who's going to be on the show for the entire week. And every Friday, from that list of subscriber names, we draw a winning name to win the Logitech T650 glass touchpad. And again, if you if you're listening to us live, you have less than 30 minutes, about 34 minutes left. I mean 26 minutes, no, 24 minutes left to get in the Logitech contest. Exactly. Time has this linear progression that keeps tripping me up. But you have about 26 minutes left to get your entry in before we shut it down at midnight tonight Eastern Time. So we're continuing on with the program, and we're talking to Michael Miller, and for some reason he's at a draw in the Google Hangouts. It's fun to play around with all that stuff. And we're talking about Windows 10. Earlier we talked about net neutrality, and but we're in this last half hour. Mike, do you want to continue talking about Windows 10, or is there something else that you'd like to comment or talk about?
Well, I'd say either Windows 10 or giant bug movies from the 50s. It's a toss-up for me.
Okay, we'll stick with Windows 10, I guess.
Although some would say that Windows 8 was a giant bug, so I don't know.
Yeah. Could they? What about the Samsung S6? Isn't that coming out tomorrow?
Yeah. Interesting. They're releasing it on a Sunday, which means they really don't. I don't know what the heck they're thinking there, but yeah, Samsung is having a big event tomorrow, March 1st. No, March 1st is Sunday, right? March 1st. To release the at least one version of the Galaxy S6. Rumors have it that there will be at least a couple different versions of it out there, but we'll be seeing whatever in the heck it is within the next day or two, and probably we'll be able to buy it within the next month, is what I'm hearing.
Anything revolutionary about this one?
Oh, it's going to be faster, and it's going to have a better camera, be better in low light. Actually, the one revolutionary thing is it looks like one of the versions will have the edge screen, where the screen itself kind of falls down on the side. Mm-hmm. From what I've seen, and nothing official, it's just been leaked or made up stuff. It doesn't look like the edge will be functional. It looks more cosmetic than anything else, and that the edge isn't big enough to be functional. Whereas
for push buttons, the little graphic images for buttons.
Doesn't look like it's, at least from the pictures I've seen, and who knows whether they're real or not, it doesn't look like that edge is big enough for that. Now, don't they, guys, help me on this, don't they make that edge screen on one of their other devices right now, like on one of the big...
Side. Yeah, it's on only one side, where this one's supposed to be on both sides.
Yeah, and if you look at that one, the edge is functional. It's big enough to be functional. Mm-hmm. Again, just going from the pictures I've seen, it doesn't look like the edge is big enough to be functional. Now, we'll find out whether it will be or not. It certainly looks cool from the pictures I've seen, anyway. We're also looking at, and this is probably a big thing, obviously the S6 will come with Android Lollipop installed instead of KitKat. My S5 still hasn't been upgraded to Lollipop, but the S6 will come with Lollipop. And as we all know, Samsung really obliterates Android by putting their own TouchWiz interface on the top of it, as well as all sorts of bloatware and apps that nobody in the world ever wants. Rumor has it that they've really stripped down this TouchWiz so that you'll see more of the Android Lollipop and have fewer of the built-in and Samsung apps on it than what we have currently with the S5.
Okay.
I think that's if they do that, I'm all for it. I mean, one of the things I don't like about the S5 is that it's got so much stuff on it I don't want, but I can't get rid of because it's baked into it. And you'll break things if you try and turn them off. If they get rid of some of that horse manure that they put in there in the S6, I think that would be great. I would love that.
You would get one for yourself?
I don't know whether I can yet because I got my S5 about 8. I'm on a contract.
Oh, okay.
You can't leave the firm once you're in the firm. So, but I will certainly be writing on one. I'm writing a book, my Samsung Galaxy S6 for Seniors. So I will have access to one anyway as soon as it comes out to write the book. Otherwise, I'd just be guessing, and we wouldn't want to do that.
No, of course not. Well, it must be fun to get these. They're like new toys to play with.
Yeah, it is, and it's nice when I don't have to pay for them. I mean, one of the bad things about being in the tech business is all the new stuff that everybody wants. Most of us, we have to pay for it. There are some guys who do get some free stuff, and I've gotten some free stuff over the years. But mainly, if I want to keep up to date on all this stuff, I've got to shell it out myself, and that gets expensive with some of this stuff. There's too much technology out there.
Yes, that's very true.
I want to go back to my Northgate keyboard and be done with it. So.
Okay, and also let's talk a little bit about the Internet of Things. We talked about it before, but you wanted to mention because you're coming out with a book on the Internet of Things.
Yeah, I've got a book imaginatively titled "The Internet of Things," which covers the Internet of Things. So there we go. It's actually at the printer right now, so it'll be out within the next 30 days, and it's getting a lot of good.
That's a slow printer.
No, that's standard. 30-day printing is actually pretty fast in the publishing business. If you take a book like your typical fiction novel, whatever, 50 Shades of Grey, 51 Shades of Grey, whatever, whatever. Those books will have a 3 to 4 month printing cycle. Now, of that time, about 6 to 8 weeks is sitting on somebody's desk somewhere. It actually doesn't take that long to print, but that's the publishing industry is. It works that way. When Q Publishing came into being 25, 30 years ago now, one of the things they did was revolutionize faster printing. I mean, we went to the printer and said, look, we've got to be day and date with, back then it was Lotus 123 or WordPerfect or whatever it was. Yeah. And we have to get faster printing. And they said, no, we can't do that. It's got to sit on somebody's desk for 8 weeks. No. We have to have faster printing. And we quit one printer, we quit another printer until we found printers who would work with us on that. So in the computer book industry, and these days, they can even print faster. On some books, they'll get 2-week printing cycles now, as opposed to 30 days. But even 30 days is fast compared to the rest of the publishing industry.
Well, I mean, things are speeding up with the times. I mean, obviously.
Well, again, we speeded them up. We sped them up 30 years ago because we had to. I mean, Q Publishing got started by a bunch of guys who were computer consultants, okay? And they didn't know anything about publishing. So they didn't know what they couldn't do. They didn't know that you were supposed to spend 3 months editing a book, and they spent 3 weeks editing the book instead. They didn't know that you had a 3 or 4 or 5 month printing cycle, and they said, we want a 2-week printing cycle instead. They just didn't know what they couldn't do, so they did stuff. And the other publishers, other computer book publishers anyway, followed suit because they had to. But it was the guys at Q, Dick Summey, who founded the company, and Scott Flanders, who ran the company after him. Just really, I know I worked for these guys. We didn't know what we were doing, so we said we got to do it this way. We have to do it this way, and we found people to work with us, and did really revolutionize things. When we later got kind of absorbed into bigger publishing companies, our bosses there said, "What are you doing? You can't do that." And we said, well, we've been doing it for 5 years, so I guess we can do that. And to this day, the large publishing companies on normal books, normal fiction and nonfiction books, they operate at a glacial pace compared to the way that Q or Wiley or Microsoft Press or whoever it is, or O'Reilly, the way that they work.
Yeah, exactly. So again, we're talking about. You started talking about the Internet of Things.
Oh yeah, books coming out sometime soon. It is about the Internet of Things. If the listeners out there have not heard about the Internet of Things, Google it. Okay, that's why we have the Google. But basically, it's kind of the next generation of the Internet. And Internet, the current generation of the Internet is the Internet for people. I mean, yeah, we got websites and email and all that, but basically people are using the Internet. This next iteration of the Internet basically connects together all sorts of devices, all sorts of sensors. Little sensors inside other bigger sensors, and connects it all together and congregates that data to do something with it, so that we end up with smarter cars and smarter houses and smarter cities. We end up with self-driving cars and drone aircraft that can fly themselves, because all this data is these devices are talking to each other, and in most cases without a lot of human interaction. So that the data is being, piled into one place, and algorithms are being built, and software is being built on the back end to make sense of the data and then feed it out and do something with it. You take the example of a house. You've got a thermostat right now. Well, we already have out there, you guys have probably seen it, the Nest thermostat. In fact, Google just bought Nest, and it's a smart thermostat. So it'll keep track of when you dial up the temperature and when you dial it down, and kind of learn your patterns. That's smart. But more than that, it connects to other devices. The Nest thermostat will connect to your garage door opener. So it knows when you leave the house that it can then turn down the temperature in the wintertime. Or when the garage door opens again, it knows you're coming home. It knows it needs to turn back up the temperature. It will connect to your Whirlpool washer and dryer. This is available today. That when you're away from home, your thermostat knows that, and it will tell your washer and dryer, okay, you don't have to work as hard now. You can go on a longer drying cycle or delay the washing cycle or whatnot to save energy. It will even connect at some point to the smart grid. I mean, there are new power grids being built that are more intelligent, that will feed data back and forth, so it'll know when there's a peak energy load to dial down everything. Don't run the dishwasher, turn off the lights, turn up the air conditioning, whatever, and then when the energy load goes down, where rates are cheaper, then we can run the dishwasher and turn up the lights and blast the hi-fi and all that stuff. So it's all, and that's without any human interaction. And that's kind of the promise of Internet of Things, is automating a lot of menial stuff that we got to think about today that we won't have to think about tomorrow, freeing up more of our time, saving us money, saving energy, and presumably doing things better than us, mere humans can do today.
It's kind of piggybacking on that whole big data thing that had people scared a little while ago, but now it has them scared and excited because big data turns out can be actually useful.
Yeah, I mean, and this is even bigger data, because we're talking about hundreds of millions, billions of little sensors and devices being fed out there. I saw this one the other day. This was after we sent the book to the printer. There's a company's starting up a Kickstarter campaign to do smart vents, okay, return air vents in your house, that you install sensors either in the vents or around your house. There's actually a couple different companies doing it different ways, that will sense the air temperature, the humidity, and that sort of thing, and open or close the vents accordingly, so that you can essentially give you zoned heating and cooling in your house without having 2 air conditioners and 2 furnaces and that sort of thing. That it'll know that there are people here and there aren't people here. It'll open this vent, it'll close that vent, it'll make this room 5 degrees cooler and this room 5 degrees warmer. Again, without any human interaction, because all these new little sensors are connecting together in a PicoNet or some other type of network, and talking to each other, and then talking to your furnace and your smart thermostat and all that, and making these decisions on the fly.
Interesting, very interesting, and saving money in the long run. Obviously, it all boils down to what? Money, saving money.
Well, hopefully saving money. Now, obviously, the companies that are doing this are not in it to save money; they're in it to make money. So they're hoping that you will buy, one of a whole house full of these smart vents at $50 a piece. So yeah, they're in it to make money. Or smart lighting. I mean, this is out there now. You've got smart LED bulbs that you can hook up to various systems, and you can control the lighting with your smartphone, and it'll control itself while you're away and that sort of thing. They're pretty expensive right now. Now, obviously, we expect prices to come down over time, but all this smart technology, the Internet of Things technology, is a huge business opportunity for companies as big as Cisco and Intel, and as small as the startup down the street.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now you you want to the book is coming out when?
The book will be out in about a month. It's called The Internet of Things by me, Michael Miller, and you can find it at any bookstore anywhere, presumably. It, however, is not a smart book. There are no devices in the book. The book itself is not part of the Internet of Things. We just talk about it, and I cover there's a chapter on smart TVs, a chapter on smart appliances, smart houses, smart cities, smart aircraft. We cover a lot about drones and such. Smart cars. Google doing their self-driving car. Smart warfare. That's a big thing, and just the smart glow. I mean, there's smart farming. There are intelligent combines and tractors out there that John Deere is selling now, and other companies that maybe not today, but soon, and for the rest of our lives, they'll be able to just the farmer will sit back at the farmhouse with his smartphone or tablet in front of him, and there'll be the tractor driving around out there doing its job. Why do we need a farmer to drive a tractor? We've got smart sprinkler systems, smart everything. You think about it, there's a lot out there now that's just dumb, that you got to tell it what to do, and we waste a lot of time doing that, or we don't tell it what to do, and everything happens. But if these things can become more autonomous, hopefully not to the Skynet stage, but something short of that, it can really free up a lot of our time, a lot of menial tasks that we do, a lot of rudimentary decision making we do, we don't have to do.
It's blowing my mind. It really is blowing my mind. Like dishes, laundry, picking up dog poop, all that kind of stuff. Why am I doing this? We live in an age where we are exploring space. We have a robot on Mars. Why am I still picking up dog poop? It's insane to me.
Well, you have the Augie dog.
But it's just a fancier way to pick up dog poop.
But it's a technological way you can pick them up.
Well, I'm sure Roomba is working on that right now. Actually, the company behind Roomba is big in this market. They have, for hospitals, a robot doctor. Okay, it's a robotic doctor. Actually, what it is a kiosk on wheels, self-propelled, with a tablet or a monitor up on top, and it can travel down the hallways of the hospital. Walk into a patient's room. You see the doctor's face up there on the monitor, and it'll read all the medical devices around you, get all the readings from that, and make a diagnosis. Actually, in use today in some hospitals, it really makes the doctor's time more efficient. Instead of the doctor walking from room to room to room to room to room, the doctor sits at his desk, lets the robot go from room to room to room, do a lot of the rudimentary stuff, but also gives a telepresence there to the patients in the hospital rooms.
And as we know, robots have some of the best bedside manner. So it's good.
Well, calling this a robotic doctor is probably a misnomer. That's what they're calling it, but really
it's a doctor with telecommunications.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't see. It's not like you got R2D2 going from room to room. You've got a screen up there where you see the doctor's face, and which actually to me looks weirder than having a real robot up there. The same company also has a similar device for corporations, so that can actually roam the halls of an office building, and so you can carry on conferences on the run. You just be walking down the hall, and your robot will follow you, and you see the guys on the screen who are in the room somewhere, wherever the room is, and so you carry on your conferencing with your little robot pal.
That is nice. That is nice. That is nice. The doctor is this allows the doctor to visit more people in less time and spread himself out. Putting him out too thinly.
Yeah, or even be at multiple hospitals at the same time.
Does anything get lost in that process?
Yeah, probably. Human interaction. I mean, you're still talking to the guy. He's there on the screen, but it isn't quite the same as having the doctor there ignoring you in the room. He has to do that via robot now.
Tragic.
There's something about still. I don't know. Maybe we're just losing touch with that. Doctors are showing up less and less.
I'm probably more of a doctor than I've ever been in the past, thanks to Google and WebMD. I'm diagnosing myself every day with a different disease. It's wonderful.
I didn't know I had that until Google pointed it out. Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a whole smorgasbord of diseases you can pick to see.
Do you cough once every 2 days? Get your face flushed and breathe normally? Wow, you have everything. Okay.
Well, this is where the Internet of Things comes in, because you can now monitor everything. You put on a band, you put on a whatever. You can monitor your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your heart rate, your oxygen rate, and you don't have to guess anymore. This stuff can be fed on a real-time basis to your doctor's office, where the computer there can analyze things and tell you whether things are normal or not. Get in touch with you and say, hey, no, we got to increase your medication, or whatever. Or they'll look at certain confluences of factors, say, well, if your heart rate's here and your breathing's here and whatnot, you're probably having a heart attack now, so we'll send the ambulance out to you. So there are real benefits for that sort of thing, so you don't have to do the self-diagnosis. You can let the Internet of Things do the diagnostics for you.
Yeah, this is where we're headed, folks. That's it. No more face-to-face contact with your doctor. Now it's just a wee robot.
Hopefully, they meet dirty disease people all day. I don't. No, thank you. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance tonight to talk about the whole thing with Lenovo. Apparently, they've come out with a new stance on they're going to be selling laptops with no bloatware, adware, or any other kind of wear on their computer. So, unfortunately, I kind of wanted to get into that, but we're going to get into it next week.
Yes.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, that's only because they infected all their customers with apparently pneumonia or something.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, again, listen, it's always a pleasure. And again, we're going to see Mike now on the last Monday of every month now, starting in March. That's his new space, new time. And we look forward to seeing you there. And in the meantime, stay with us to the end as we finish up the show.
And you want to find out anything about the Internet of Things books or anything else, go to MillerWriter.com. That's my new website, MillerWriter.com.
And we also have a link to it at MillerWriter.com at our show notes page at ComputerAmerica.com, and also on our correspondence page where we have a picture of Mike, and you can go directly to there as well. That's always up there at Computer America. Coming up Monday,
90 seconds.
We're going to have Squarespace on the first hour. Squarespace is a website that allows you to design websites. This seems to be a popular thing. If you want to do e-commerce or you want to do any kind of a website presentation, they have a website that allows you to do that. And they're going to be on the first hour. And then the second hour, we'll do computer and technology news. Brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Thanks again to Mike Miller for being with us here. Hey, everybody, have a great weekend. Ben, you got plans for the weekend?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just kind of leave it at that.
That's
yes, I
do. you do have plans for the weekend.
For once, I do, yes.
For once, he does. And we will see you back here, same place, same time, Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Get that entry in. You have about a few seconds left. So until Monday night, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you Monday night.
Good night, everyone.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
All right, everybody, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on Monday, and then have a great weekend. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mike.
Toodaloo.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.